What is up, sexy people? We are officially live. I thought we were live about 15 minutes ago, and it turns out that we were not. So I take full responsibility for the fact that some of you were probably wondering what in the entire hell is going on right now. But I can see us live on my Facebook page right now, and that is Christine calling me. We might as well do this live. Hey, Chris, can you get back on?
Frankie. No, it kicked me off. And I heard it ring,
I'll send
so I
you
can answer
another.
it and do it. Can you
Okay.
try one more time?
All right, I'm sending you another invitation. Sorry, we're having all sorts of technical difficulties tonight, but the
There
good
she
thing
is.
is, there's Christine, there she is. The good thing is, the great thing is, my camera wasn't working in the first thing that we thought was actually working, and now it is. So I'm Nikki Gilbert Daniels, and I'm going to go through the short introductions of these amazing women on this panel tonight.
Short.
Thank y'all for being with us. First off, we have former mayor of Baltimore. She got into politics at the age of 25. She was elected by her peers as the 73rd president of the U.S. Conference of Mayors. Let's give it up for this powerful, smart, amazing, incredible sister, Stephanie Rawlings Blake. Give it up for Stephanie Rawlings Blake right now, y'all. Thank you very much. Whoop, whoop. Next up, we have a multi-Grammy and Emmy award-winning producer. She is the showrunner of several comedy specials. She is an executive producer at Magic Lemonade. In 2008, she was nominated for NAACP Image Awards, and she won an Emmy for say it for me, say it
Equanimity.
for me. I can't say it.
Equanimity.
Equanimity. I can't say it, but it's awesome. And then, of course, we have Korshonda Springer. She is a studio owner. She opened her doors in 2012. She's worked with BET. She's worked with some of everybody: Michael Jackson, Reverend Jesse Jackson, Reverend Al Sharpton, Bootsy Collins, MC Hammer, Dick Gregory, Don King. And she has an incredible movie that the whole world needs to see. I'm sorry, an incredible TV series that the world needs to see based on Greenwood Avenue and the Tulsa race riots. And finally, we have a woman on a mission. My sister, my friend, Detroit versus everybody, Christine Beatty. I love you. I'm so glad that you are here. She was 39 years old when she was
32.
responsible. I'm sorry, 32. Forgive me.
Thanks,
See, I wasn't
Mayor.
reading.
Look, I love it.
32. She was 32. And she saved these people, hold on. She saved these people $30 million. Okay. So, ladies, thank y'all so much for being here, for being a part of this broadcast. I appreciate your patience. I appreciate the patience of all of our viewers. And shout out to everybody watching now. So, as I stated before, and we're going to say it again because we're live now for real, we have been talking about protesting, right? And I was one of those people who was like, these people don't need to be out in these streets. What's going on? Lord have mercy, the pandemic, everything is wrong. And Christine was explaining to me why it is so important that we take advantage of protests. And ladies and gentlemen, let me add, my camera has fallen out again, so you may hear from me more than you see me tonight. But Chris, will you take it and let us know what your thoughts are on the protest and are they effective?
Um, sure. Like you said, we were having the conversation last week, and I am somebody who believes that protests do work, and I believe that it is what has pushed us to where we are right now. It is called attention to the issue that people have been screaming about. And I mean, we believe since Rodney King, but as we know, this has happened
Mm,
before, so it's just more cameras now. But the attention is being called to the issue of police brutality, especially on African Americans. And the protest this time, and this is not the first time we've protested. This is not the first time, rioting has happened. This is not the first time for those things, but it is
mm-hmm,
now a change again that you see happening. To me, almost like you saw a shift in the 60s begin to happen. People are tired, not just black folks. People are tired of, inhumanity, inequality. And I believe that the protest this time started to help push that. I think, the response from municipalities and states came about because of the protest. It came about because of the rioting. Again, I'm not endorsing looting or rioting. The way I have an opinion on that as well, but I absolutely believe the protests have started the ball rolling, and it is something that is absolutely worthwhile, and it is a tool that we as citizens have to use, and we should always use it when necessary.
Absolutely. Stephanie Rawlings Blake, can you share your opinion and as a former mayor of your thoughts on the protests and whether or not they are helping us and being effective?
I believe in the power of protests, but I think that in many cases they're the beginning, they're not the end. And what I hope is that we don't get caught up in these feelings. You know, I think when I was interviewed earlier, I think on MSNBC, and they asked me, is this a movement or a moment? You know, and I heard people say, well, this feels different. Feelings are irrelevant. Uh, Feelings aren't going to get legislation passed. Feelings aren't going to get changes to the law enforcement officers' Bill of Rights. We cannot get caught up in the feelings of it. We have to be focused on what is our end game. So that's why I said, you know, I believe in the power of protest, but after the protest is over, we need some soldiers to come, you know, go to the state houses around the country and testify, go to the city halls around the country and testify, call your elected officials, write letters, you know, letters to the editor, all of the things that we know that are the building blocks for progress. We cannot ignore them and just think that, you know, the protest is the end of it. It is a crucial part, but it's not the end. We have to continue the fight.
Absolutely. Okay, Ricky, I know that you are coming from the space of a producer and a person in the entertainment industry. What are your thoughts on protest and whether or not there are perhaps other forms of protest that we can engage in, like protest through some of our art and some of our content?
Look, I think it's, it's dramatically important. I think we had to get out there. We had to have the conversation started. I think one of the biggest things I'm just curious to see, what do we do now?
Mm,
I really want to know, like, what's our very clear call to action? And, that's something that I'm concerned about. I want to make sure that we're unified, and we're asking for the exact thing that we need, and that we're really clear about it. I don't really hear one straight voice, which, I would
mm,
love. We don't have our Martin or our Malcolm. I don't see that right now. But
mhm,
I'm hopeful that that somebody's going to really step up. I mean, all the voices are great, but I think we really need that unified voice. As far as the arts, I always feel like, change is good, and we always have great things that come out of these Renaissance moments. And right now, coming from the pandemic and then going right into the protest, if our
mhm,
if all of our creatives are not out here creating, myself included, with our music, if we aren't creating right now with our content, and there's no one that can tell me that there's any gatekeepers to it anymore. Unlike any other process that we've had in the past, you were hoping that you were seen on television, or you were hoping that someone picked up the story. Right now, there's not one person that can't pick up their phone, record something, edit it on
mhm.
their phone, and get it up on the internet immediately.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
right now, we can't even scream about the gatekeepers. Now it's about getting out there, being really clear about your vision, really clear about the call to action, and getting involved. And I think every single person has to. It's not just Black people. It's not just Black men. It's not just Black women. This is something that's going to have to happen, and everyone has to get involved. But we have to drive the narrative on this. We saw what happened with the Black Lives Matters, with the black screens and the hashtags, and we really need to be, unified and really know what we're doing moving forward. Yes.
Um, I think that it's absolutely essential that we, use the story of Black Wall Street as a testament for what it is that we could accomplish today. I absolutely think that it's essential that we look at what they did and look at how they were able to establish financial independence at a time when it was absolutely unheard of, right? And for me, wanting to tell that story now, I think that the story is now more relevant than it's been. I've been trying to get the story told now for 7 years. And I think it's more timely now in the sense that, in a lot of ways, I feel like history is repeating itself. In a lot of ways, I feel like the racism that we experienced then, the push against African Americans having their own wealth and their own financial independence, I think that still even an issue today. So I do think that we need to focus on that. I think that we need to focus on a lot of things that they focused on: financial literacy within our community, educating and teaching different people within our community, doing business with one another, keeping the dollars circulating within our community. And so, if and when this series gets made, no, I was when this series
happening.
gets made,
That's right.
we'll be able to take a look at all of that, as well as use that as a testament for what we should be doing today and how we should be presenting ourselves today. Like, use what they did in the 1920s and 1921 to show the sort of communities and sort of people that we should be today.
I think this is. I was saying this is definitely a learning process for me as well. You talked about Chrissy Teigen, and the issue is with her offering bail that sometimes that people that you don't believe should receive bail support would be helped by her efforts. And I think it's the same thing with looting. I don't condone it. I don't. So many people lose. So many neighborhoods have been devastated by looting, and people who really need resources are separated from those resources when we have looting. But just like you, Nikki, were talking about your evolved thinking, I do not endorse it, condone looting, but I also understand looting as the cost of racial injustice. And if our country does not have a full sense of the full cost of it, people aren't motivated out of altruism. They're often motivated out of self-interest and money. So I think that in the bigger picture, I understand how looting, even though I don't, again, condone and endorse it, all of those things, I understand it as a tool to get where a lot of us think we want to go.
Nikki,
I
wanted to add one thing. Oh, go ahead, Christine.
No, you sure? No, you go.
No, okay. I just wanted to add also, though, that if asked the question, do I think the protests are working? I do think they're working. And the thing that I was having a conversation with a girlfriend the other night, the thing that has resonated with me has been the fact that it's just not been like one single protest. We see people protesting all around the world. So my comment to her was like, in the 40 years that I've been living, I personally have not seen this many people show up for issues that are affecting African Americans like the entire time that I've been living, right? And with that, I can share with y'all, like, I don't want to name names, but there are you know, people that I do business with, white people that I do business with on a regular basis, who I've tried to have conversations with in the past about racism or about their comments, or, just kind of trying to share with them my viewpoint as a Black person. And after these riots started happening the other day, I received maybe 3 phone calls from white counterparts to just say, hey, seeing these protests happening is making me realize that I need to take a look at myself, or seeing the protests happening is making me call you to apologize for my insensitivities before. I'm having conversations with my kids, or I'm calling out, racist family members in my family. So the thing that I shared with my girlfriend when I was talking to her the other night is like, although it's tragic and it's horrific what happened to George, I also feel like that it's been uplifting at the same time, because we are starting to see change happen from these protests.
You also see, some Black pride that we haven't seen in a while either, which I think is exciting. Even though it's being born out of a tragedy, but I think we can't lose the sight of, as well as I'm not, there for the looting. I understand that this is really an economic issue as well. This is not just a social justice issue. It's really an economic issue. And, as creators and filmmakers, if we aren't pushing down these doors, I don't care if it's based on guilt or whatever the reasons are, that I'm getting all these phone calls from every single network that I've ever dealt with. I am barreling through those doors, and we need to get all these projects made. Get your project made, Chrissy. Get that Tulsa project, get it made, because right now they're looking for content. They're looking for us to be able to give this narrative and to lead the way. And we need that story. We need that story to be heard. We need you to get out here. You need to do it right now. And we shouldn't ask for permission anymore.
Absolutely.
I was just gonna say too, Nikki, real quick on that, and Stephanie was talking about something very important, which about the looting aspect, and then Ricky just hit it. We have to understand, Black people have been at the bottom of the totem pole, not just on equality, but on economics. And so when we kind of talked about this before we got on camera, a lot of this is about economics, right? So the fight for justice is not just about, can you stop beating us, but it's, can we get to the equal platform? And I was referencing, I saw this video, and you guys might have seen it. It was she broke it down for somebody who really couldn't get it well. She talked about the game of Monopoly, and like how white people could understand where we are. So everybody knows Monopoly. If you play 400 rounds of Monopoly and you tell me, sit to the side, and you get to accumulate all your wealth for these 400 rounds, right? So we know in Monopoly, you're going to make big money if you playing for 400 rounds by yourself. And then you come in and let me play 50 rounds with you. And 50 rounds, you can say, hey, you can earn some money, but when you earn your money, you have to give it to me. So you let me play, right? So this is post-slavery. So they gave us freedom after slavery, but you still could work as sharecroppers on my land, but I'm working for you. So it's 50 years of that. And so you come after that and then say, okay, now you potentially may start earning money, but you really can't own property just yet. So there's always something in the game. So if you say, and then now, okay, go, and we pay regular, you have 500 rounds of Monopoly money built up, and then tell me to try to catch up. It's not there. So the only person that can help me is the person who's been playing the round 400 rounds by themselves, by sharing the wealth, making it available for me to own property. So economics is a big part of this. So when you see people looting, and I know the mayor said this earlier before on camera, which is right, there were some people looting who you knew this wasn't about shit. They were like, it's free. I'm going to get this. Like you said, in Atlanta, they broke into Dior. They broke in this. But other people were saying, because that's the establishment of people who really don't care. And that's how people took it, right? So you have both sides of the argument. I think where people lost sight is what you talked about, which is there were Black businesses being built. And what we have to be so careful to do. So we're trying to gain this economic part and equality as well. So we can't tear down our folk stuff when we're trying to build that, because it is about economics. It's about racial injustice, and stop killing us. We're starting there. But like you said, that's the start. There are so many things that we have to continue to push for. But when you feel economically desperate, so the whole take your foot off our neck, that means literally and figuratively, because we've been kept down both ways.
I agree 100%. And one thing that was really, there's a video going around of a woman kind of breaking it down, and she talks about the reason that Black people are looting. And at the end of the day, even though you look at that and be like, that's a damn shame. Why are you going in there tearing up Black businesses and tearing up? I think that people were just so angry and so done. And not even people who weren't necessarily focused on the cause just felt like the lady said in the video, they had been deprived of certain things for so long. When the opportunity came to get it, they just went crazy and went after it. And I actually posted, it's on my page now, a video of all the rioting that's been going on since the 1600s. And I posed a question at the end of it, which was, if rioting is the voice of the unheard, and Stephanie, I want you to take this question if you will, and Chris, of course, feel free to jump in, but if rioting is the voice of the unheard, what happens if we're never heard? What happens if people never give us the respect that we deserve?
I mean, I think we're past that. I think people not being heard isn't an option in 2020. That being said, what I hope comes out of this is a more pragmatic approach to how we move forward. I was listening to an interview earlier today, and one of the gentlemen was one of the protesters was saying, well, de Blasio did this, but that's where the moderates want us to be, and I'm a radical and I want us to be here, and and I was thinking to myself, we cannot afford to tear each other down and to build these silos of the moderates, the conservatives, the this and that. We all want progress, and I think I hope that what today teaches us is, instead of to look at the ways that we differ, to look at the ways that we, that you might not be going far enough. We, in our lifetime, we might not ever get to where you think is far enough, but together, the ones who want to make those first 3 steps, we can do those together. Let's try to figure that out. So my hope is that we look for those commonalities and ways that we can work together. Elected officials, police, the different police officers and their organizations, protesters, community leaders, everybody.
Absolutely. So, okay, let's move on to my next topic and the next question in the topic, which is Black women. It's a lot going on out here as it relates to Black women and us not getting the attention that we so deserve as it relates to so many areas of our lives. Inequality, gender inequality, the fact that Breonna Taylor's death has gone on this long and there's no understanding of it. Let's talk real quick about Breonna Taylor. And anybody jump in. Do you think that this is a situation where the system is just overwhelmed with focusing on what happened with George Floyd and some of the immediate responses to that they haven't gotten to Breonna Taylor? Or do you think it's a situation where they just don't give a damn? Anybody?
I think people only do what you make them do. I think, if it wasn't a call to action and so much of an uprising, it probably just would have kept on going by, and there would be no attention to it at all.
I think I don't think anything that there's a distraction from George Floyd's death. I think if somebody says that, that's an excuse. This is a completely different municipality. So their ability to act on what's happening with Breonna Taylor doesn't impede what's happening with George Floyd. That's the first thing. So that can't be anybody's excuse. I can't say behind the scenes what's taking so long, but what I will say is I'm encouraged that the Fed said we will take a look at this and investigate, because I think when we start talking about what's next in this fight, part of this is what are the outside entities that are going to begin to look at police misconduct and when those things happen. Policing themselves never really works, right? So that is where, how do we create that? What does that look like in different cities? What does it look like nationally? Do we create a state panel to review those things? Do we use the federal government? So, and the thing, people understand, governments change, so parties change, so their directives change. What people want differs when different people get. It's gonna almost be, and this is again Christine's, kind of what I would call party proof, right? Because whenever you have a Democratic person or Republican, you have a different focus on what they want to see change and what, you know, what they believe is the right way. So going down this road, our demands have to be specific enough that all people will agree to these changes and adhere to them. And I think in Breonna Taylor's case, right now, I'm sure what they're doing is being very thorough, as they need to be, to figure out what happened, who issued this, you know, allowed this fake, you know, not fake, but expired raid warrant to proceed. And how is it that not only was it expired, but that you killed somebody in the process? You're executing a warrant that expired, but you killed this woman in her home and had the wrong address. Something went tremendously wrong. So there are so many people to be held accountable. It's not just the people who bust in there and shot her. There are going to be some people in the higher ups of the department who are going to lose a job over this, hopefully. And that's where we have to keep the pressure, because this is a fatal flaw. The people that marched in on bad information. Who supplied that information to them? How did that happen? So,
and if it was just bad information, why does it never happen to white people? But that's another conversation. But I'm just saying.
But with Breonna, I think you know, when Christine was talking about the different issues with the warrant, the address, all of those things, I think that has led to her case not rising to the same level of frustration and anger and indignation around the globe, because with George Floyd, we watched the life leave his body. We watched a police, we you know, and I talked about this on one of the shows I did last week. I said, we watched a homicide. And for many people, you know, for some people, they've seen a homicide before. For the vast majority of us, we have not witnessed a homicide. We collectively witnessed a homicide. And that, you know, I think the impact of that trauma we're seeing play out in the streets. The unfortunate situation with Breonna Taylor is much like so many lives that have been lost. You know, what we have are the different accounts. We don't have a video.
And that's it. Video. So speaking of video, let's get back into the entertainment executives on the panel. How do we actively, Ricky, you spoke up about getting content. Now is the time for us to go in and have our content developed and distributed. What active steps would you give a young content creator, someone who wants to use their art as a form of protest, to get that done?
Well, I say first thing is shoot it. You can shoot an example of what you want to do. You can have you can just do a narrative into your camera with passion. There's so many things that you can capture that becomes proof of concept for you, that you can go in and say, hey, this is what I'm looking to do. This is what I have the ability to. And if you can't do it, there's no one that will not let you walk in and stand next to someone and work for free. Meaning if someone comes to my office and they say, hey, I want to be a filmmaker, I have these ideas, and I'm not even looking for money, I just want to get it out there, I'll let you come sit next to me. I will walk you through it. Like, let's go for it. You know, sometimes you can't do it all by yourself and you need allies. and that's fine. And there's
Mhm.
tons of us out here who are looking to help, because there was no one that showed me the way. There was not a Black woman. There was
Come
not
on.
another woman who was able to walk me through the process. So I feel like it's always my mission, and I'm supposed to. It's what I'm here to do, is to make sure that I'm here to each one, teach one, reach out, grab one, take them with me. There's so many people that can say they shadow me, they spend time. I said, but what's next? It's different just shadowing me. How do I, if I see that you
Mhm.
have any propensity that you can do this, I'm pulling you under my wing. I'm walking you into this network with me. They're going to see your little Black face with me, and they're going to say, oh, well, if this project, if I can't get Ricky because she charges too much, I'm going to get this one, her number two, who's been right there. And I think those things are really important. And I just think
Absolutely.
it's a place right now where you can't tell me that you can't get your project somewhere seen. You will bombard and right now, everyone is looking for content. There's not one,
Yeah.
just because we're coming from the pandemic as well, they are looking for whatever you can do.
Yeah.
And I,
Absolutely.
the last thing I'll say is that, if you know, like, I want to do a documentary, what's your favorite documentary? Call that documentary filmmaker, and get next to them. Tell them that if you're like, I love
Mm.
Ava DuVernay's work, get in there with her, talk to her assistant. Assistants make the world go round. They are the
All right.
gatekeepers. Call that
Yes,
assistant, take her out to
indeed.
lunch, do what you need to do, and say, I have this idea and I just need some help.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, as it relates to just empowering women of color in general, we've been hearing this for so long. I feel like a broken record. I feel like everybody knows that there's a pay disparity. I feel like everyone knows that, we have, if we are passionate, we're bitches and we're angry. I think it's just becoming so redundant. What steps would you take, and anybody take this? What steps would you take to stop that cycle of just round and round we go, and really having an actionable, like tangible way of supporting and empowering women of color? What are some of the examples that you feel, or things that you feel can change, or ways that you directly are working to create that change?
I was encouraged when I saw the the social media post that's been going viral with the photo, and then you tag your, your Black female friends. It says, I'm a queen,
Yeah.
Black woman, I'm a queen. I build up, I don't tear down. I was encouraged by that a lot, and certainly posted and tagged several of my friends. But I think on top of that post, our the people in our community need to see us model that behavior. Our daughters need to see
Absolutely.
us model that behavior. So we can't be on IG talking about how I stand for Black women, and then you see something on television and the words that are coming out of your mouth are destructive, and
Mm-hmm.
really don't model what you said that you stand for on IG. So I think it's really about being intentional with what we allow this next generation to see. When our guard is
Absolutely.
down, we have to be authentically, be the queen authentically when nobody's watching.
One other thing I wanted to add is that, right
Absolutely,
now there's a
100%. Does anyone else, Chris, do you have anything to add to that?
I think Ricky was saying something really quick.
Yeah, I was just going to say there's another route in, and that's to speak directly to sponsors, because
Mhm.
what we realize is that, when you pitch a show to a network, you're actually pitching to advertisers. You're saying, will Tide get behind this show? That's really who you're pitching to, because they have to go and sell it
Mm.
upstream. And right now, a lot of these advertisers are looking for ways to have a direct connection with their audience. So if you find a
Mm.
social media person that has a big presence and you want to partner with them and walk into Procter and Gamble or walk into one of these and say, this is the story that I want to tell, and we're able to put your name on it to tell this Black woman story, which right now, Black women, we are the highest spender of discretionary income
Come on.
across the board. They understand how they don't want us to know it, but right now, that's why Black female content moves like nothing else. That and comedy are the things that move faster than anything. So it's
Right.
important, go to the gatekeeper, because right now, Tide's not sure if they put their commercial, everyone's zooming past it. They're going past it on the DVR. Maybe no one will see it.
Mm-hmm.
They don't see that clip when someone has just reposted it on YouTube. So if they can go directly to the consumer, which right now with these large social media presence that you have,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe you get one of those girls who has 10 million followers, and it might not be the way that you wanted to get it, but if she's got a voice and you can say, let me help you see another way
Yeah.
for economic empowerment through her and connect her with brand. I mean, I say you work it out.
That makes sense. So, Korshonda,
Yes.
what would you say are some of the obstacles that you have had to endure in trying to get this amazing movie? If y'all are just joining this live, Korshonda Springer, once again, executive producer, studio owner, is trying to get this incredible series, Greenwood Avenue, made. What are some of the obstacles you feel that you have encountered as a woman of color trying to tell such a powerful story?
Oh man, Nikki, I probably could go on forever. I'll start with first thing. One of the things that I was up against very early on. So let's just say I was very fortunate back in 2013 to have been befriended by Pauletta Washington. And Pauletta was very much like Ricky said, listen, I'm a Black woman. I want to help another Black woman. You know, at least I can get you in the door, get you a seat at the table, and you sell your project from there. Right. So I've been fortunate in the sense that I've met a lot of Black women like that along the way. The thing that I've encountered most dating all the way back to 2013 is once I sit and I pitch that project and I invite them into the world of Greenwood and, you know, I tell them about the subject matter, I tell them about the events. Every single time it's a situation where they're like, you know what, they lean in, they're asking questions,
Mm-hmm.
they want to know more, but they always end up saying to me, the first thing is very early on, it was, we need a proof of life. Meaning when I was back pitching this to Sony in 2013, they had no record of it. They had no recollection of it. It had never been taught to them. So their
Of
thing
of
was,
of the race riots?
yes, ma'am. It was like, okay, can you go back and
What?
get us proof of life? Like, we really need to know that these events happened.
Wow.
I took my ass to Tulsa, Oklahoma, went to the Tulsa Greenwood, the Cultural Center, went to the library. And I have to tell you guys about that whole experience. But I literally went there and gathered documentation and put me a whole nother book together, right? So let's just say I get back to the drawing board. I'm pitching my project again. And I've not had a problem getting the meetings. The problem have been with the powers that be it white people, be it Black people. They don't want to tell the story necessarily the way that I want to tell the story. And let me explain to y'all what I mean by that. For me, although that we know the Tulsa race riots, they were horrific. When I'm pitching my series, I'm sharing with them that I don't want to focus necessarily only on the riots. I want to focus on the success of the people. I want to focus on the resilience. I want to focus on the tenacity that they had, and nobody wants
Mm,
to tell that story like that. They
mm.
want to make the story something other than what it is. And I'll say this, I don't want to name names, but I've had Black people, I'll say prominent Black people in Hollywood who who know the story as well, and they'll say to me, hey, this is not something, telling a story like this and showing the success of these Black people, or showing the Black people in this light, is not going to be something that we're going to be able to sell to them. You know what I mean? So it's been a
Wow.
constant, and
Woo.
I've said to them, listen, I need y'all to champion for me. You know what I'm saying? I need y'all to champion for us. Like, let's tell our story the way the story should be told, and let's not water it down for them the way that they're wanting us to water it down. And so that's been
Mm.
my situation. I've been in situations thus far where I had, potential situations that I ended up having to walk away from because I felt like I wouldn't be doing the story any justice. So it's just been that, Nikki. It's been nobody believing and or wanting to
I
tell
get
the
it.
story
I
that way.
totally get it. I
Yes.
totally get it. I have asked publicly why we don't see stories like Greenwood Avenue. There's a group of women in Detroit called the irony of it all, called the Detroit Housewives League. And they were a group of women led by Fannie Peck that led an economic protest in Black Bottom in the 1930s. When I posted on my social media account, people were like, what? Like, who is this? What is this? Housewives? He. No, this was serious shit. Excuse me.
Right.
They were serious, they were focused, and they changed a lot of things in the community. And, I went on a little bit of a rant talking about how important it is for media companies to take us seriously because we are the number one consumers of this content. And there's so many people out here telling our stories and defining our narratives that don't look like us,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
There are few of them that are the same color, but they're men. And there's so few opportunities for women to be able to share their story. So, sister, I applaud you on taking that stand and deciding that you're not going to change it to a story of, because I'm tired of the slave movies. I'm
Me too.
tired of I'm sick of it.
Okay.
So, yeah.
When we get off
Go
of
ahead.
this call, I'm going to send you guys some contact that I know would be interested in both of these stories, who would like to get behind it, and then also some independent finances. Because the other thing is, I can show you better than I can tell you. So if you can
Come
get the
on.
money
Yep.
independently, you shoot it yourself, shoot the story that you want, the way you want, and then forget about giving it to them. License it to them. Keep your project, keep your IP.
Come on.
That, that's the way to go right now. So when we get off of this, I'm not going to put it out there for everybody, because then everybody
Right, yeah.
But I will, after we get off this call, send it over to you guys, because there's a couple people I want to connect you with that right now are looking for this exact type of content, and they got money. Girl, they got money. Real money.
And that is how you empower Black women, okay?
Get your own question.
That's exactly what you just asked, the importance.
Yeah.
Ricky immediately reaching out saying, I got a connection for you. And that is what we as Black women have to do, is I got next, and letting our young people know, like I have a college graduate and one that's a sophomore. You are never too young to mentor. You don't have to mentor when you've made it. You can start mentoring in high school. You can start mentoring in college. You don't have to wait. The mentoring comes in showing people that you can do it and keep moving to the next step. So that's awesome, Ricky, and that's exactly you showed the example for Nikki's question. Period.
Absolutely.
There it is. Period.
And we have to keep we have to keep talking about what our needs are, what we're working on, how we're doing it, so that people can hear. Because I want to be of service, but I have to know what you're looking for. Like, tell me what you need, because if I don't have it, maybe I can go to the person next to me or the person on the side of me who can go to the next person and try to get it and connect the dots for you.
That's right.
Woo! Now that is power. So we don't get back into this political stuff. I had to break off into some entertainment for a minute. Y'all are so smart, so beautiful, and so amazing. I don't know if I've said it, but thank you, ladies, so much for all of your insight and all of your information. So Christine and Stephanie, spotlight on y'all. Politics again. You so often hear people saying, that, why vote? I didn't vote it. Didn't work out in my favor. Y'all keep talking about vote, they gonna do it their way anyway. Christine will tell you, and I don't have the clip, but I'll post the clip on She Speaks Live later for you all to see, or on my YouTube channel. I was one of those people who was like, hey, I'm trying to tell you, what does it really matter? What do you say to people who are uninspired about the process of voting in this country?
You saying it to me, or you either want to jump in? I'm
actually asking both of you to
Okay.
Answer this question together, so either one of you can.
And I need to hear from Christine, because I don't have anything tactful to say to somebody who's not going to want to vote.
Oh!
You know what, Nikki? You and I have had this conversation a million times. The bottom line is, it shouldn't be an option, right? Voting is what we are supposed to do to help change it. You can't complain if you don't vote. And I've said that always. And I know sometimes it's so difficult to see the results, but case in point, in Minneapolis, in the state of Minnesota, where George Floyd was killed, you had 4 officers now charged with his murder. Why? Because we have an elected attorney general who people voted for and said we need change in that state, so that when things like that do happen, police can be held accountable. And you know how that happened? People elected him. He wouldn't have, this wouldn't have happened if potentially, because I can't speak to what the previous AG would have done, but guess what? this AG did, and he ran on that platform, and people got out and pushed his candidacy and pushed the votes for him. So voting works. Do we always get the candidate we want? Of course not. We don't always get anything in life that we want. But you cannot expect people that make the policies, because at the end of the day, even the changes we're talking about, all of these things, whether you want to defund police or extra fund police, whether you want to change use of force policies or otherwise, all of those things happen through policy changes where elected officials hold the cards and will make those decisions for us. So your state representatives, when they start talking about state budgets and how the money flows to police departments for cities and municipalities, guess who votes on that? Your state representatives, your state senators. Guess who, when you get to the city level, who decides how big the police department's budget is? Who decides how the money is spent in the police departments? Your local mayors and city council. So again, I know that it can be difficult to see, but voting is the least of which we can do. That is our basic responsibility. And you know, I've said that a million times. You miss me with the I don't vote because. Voting is the basic thing that you, especially Black people died for us to be able. So while we are here talking about rioting, we have people killed, lynched, murdered for us to have the ability to vote. So I'm gonna leave it at that. It's a basic responsibility. I hope I did it tactfully, Mayor.
Listen, much
And
more
not just the
tactfully than I would do, because I feel like, you can't hold a sign and say Black Lives Matter and not vote. Because when you don't vote, what you have accepted is that we don't matter. You've accepted the lie that has been taught to us. So, you can't have it both ways. And voting, choosing a candidate, educating yourself, that's the hard stuff that, it is required, as a responsible citizen. So you can't complain about what's not being done, and sit on the sidelines too. So if you're going to sit on the sidelines, sit there quiet.
Sit there quietly. That was very, very powerful.
Think about the midterm elections too, and not just the presidential, but the midterm elections too, because people forget that, the local elections are where you start the process. The presidential election is important, but your local elections and midterms are so important.
Yeah,
absolutely. And right. At the end of the day, another thing I discovered was that I wasn't as educated and informed on politics as I should be, because, I was just lazy. Let's just call it what it is. I was just lazy. And an activist posted recently to not just go down the line and vote Democrat without being informed, right? Yeah. And my response to that is, how is there a resource that will show people who are new to voting, new to politics, more information, whether or not people follow through on their campaign promises and stuff. And I did discover that there is a place online for us to go, especially since primaries are Tuesday, Christine, in Georgia?
Correct.
Tuesday. And it is called, I'm sorry?
Tuesday, June 9th is election day.
Tuesday, June 9th, primaries. And there's a place that you can go right now called ballotready.org. And I have been on ballotready.org learning about the candidates. And what's really interesting is I saw, a bunch of Democratic candidates, and I was like, okay, well, cool. Well, that's a Black lady, and that's a Black, and then my mind kind of automatically went to, well, they understand us. And as I clicked on each individual's issues and what they were running on, I saw that there was a white Democratic woman whose views were more in line with mine, and did not put those blinders up and just decide I was going to do this because she was a Democratic nominee and she was a Black woman. Now, obviously, I'm riding for Black women all day, and I want us to be in positions like Mayor Rawlings and Mayor Bottoms and what Christine did for the city of chief of staff. I want all of that to happen, but I also need to be more informed and empowered. So if you are like me and unashamed to say that you know less about politics than you should, then please check out ballotready.org or any other resource, but that has a nice
And we
Nikki, I
can't
organized way of
leave
checking it
out
want
out.
to add
Mayor
this.
Bowser and her boss
Ma-
move with
oh,
the Black Lives Matter Plaza.
listen,
What happened?
I
listen.
sent her a message. I said, "Would you tell Trump, don't come for me unless I send for you."
Sin for you.
When I say that was the best, that was the best. I mean, I was so proud to have even lived in D.C. for a minute. I was like, yes, I'm a Howard grad. I went to claim D.C. Yes, I went to Howard.
I said, she did that.
Yes,
She
made his new address. 1600
Yes.
Black
Yes,
Lives Matter.
indeedy.
I love it.
Yes,
So
indeedy.
Hey, but Nikki, I do want to say voting, and the good thing is that especially people coming up now, it's so easy to educate yourself because we have the internet. You can put it like, even if you don't remember the organization you said, you can Google state candidates running for office. You can go, those sorts, and it'll bring up different organizations. So you may follow different political organizations who also put up things where positions are on different candidates on different issues. So the great thing is that if you have a phone, you can learn about any candidate you want to. You see all those little signs, take a second and Google their name. Find out their platform. So that is the good thing that's afforded to us right now, is that you can find out what you want about any candidate running for public office right now. And yes, being informed is the best way to go to the polls. If you need to take your literature with you, take it. It's okay. You can stand right.
Absolutely.
You don't. I don't. Like you said, you were lazy. No, I mean it's tough to follow sometimes. So take your literature. Don't be afraid to ask people. Excuse me, what do you know about? You can talk to your folks in line. What you know about this
Yeah.
person here? Has this person run?
Because you're going to be in line for a minute, so you got plenty of time to research.
Hopefully you will be in line for a minute. Right. But that's what I'm saying. It's okay to not know everything about every candidate. It's, nobody does. So making yourself informed is as simple as having your phone right now, which is a great thing.
So I'm gonna tell y'all real quick 2 things that made me change my perspective here recently. I admit, I was in the same boat as Nikki for the most part in saying that I had not been up on politics as much as I should, right? So I really hadn't voted since Obama was in office, and my whole attitude had been, oh, they're gonna rig it however they want to rig it, right? I saw a clip maybe a couple of months ago. It was 2 things that I saw that made me say, okay, I got to do better. I got to get out. I'm voting when it's time this year. There was a clip from Trump, and he said something along the lines of the African American community had been good for his campaign in the sense that even though we had doubt of what he could do, we didn't show up to vote, right? And so in that moment,
Wow.
I said to myself, damn, I really messed up. And then in having a conversation with friends that kind of have said the same things that you guys have said, that it's important for us to, elect people at like our local levels. I had someone say to me a couple of months ago that by my not showing up and, voting for the president or voting here at a local level, I was betraying all of my own interests as well as betraying those people who, like you said, died for us to be able to vote. So I'm like, okay, I got to get better. So Nikki, you got to tell me that site one more time so I can go on there and get better informed about who we have as options.
Yes, ma'am. It is called
Yes.
ballotready.org.
Love it.
Ballotready.org. And everybody who is going to vote in the primaries should, even if you think you know who you're voting for, like a couple hours to study and to learn more about the candidates. If it's going to change your community and going to ultimately change the world, it's so worth it. And I encourage everybody who felt like me and Coco. Like, what the hell?
I
Because
want
the first
Coco to
time I
think about
voted,
something else. When you don't vote, you add value to the people who are voting against your interests. Do you know what I mean? So
I do.
when you don't vote, when you don't vote, their vote counts more.
Correct.
And you should never want the people who don't have your interests for them to matter more or to count more than you.
Absolutely.
Lord have
Yeah.
mercy. So one other thing on the voting, what is it that you can say to Well, actually, not the voting. I'm sorry. I meant to say protesting. I just wanted to go back to that for a hot second. What is it that you can say to people who feel that protesting is going to be more effective than protesting in the streets? I'm sorry, because they're different protests. Protesting in the streets is going to be, or is protesting in the streets going to be more effective to get people to pay attention than actually voting in economic protest? Because some people say the only way they're going to pay attention to it is if you tear some shit up. And other people are like, they're not going to pay attention to that at all. They're just going to. So, what do you say to people who feel that their way of protesting in the streets is equally as effective or more effective than taking it to the polls?
They go hand in hand. You can't separate one without the other. And I think, Mayor said it earlier, that's the first step. What's next? That's why I said voting is the basic, right? That's where you start. Because we can protest all day, which is great, but guess what? The powers that be still have to respond to our demands. So whoever's sitting in the offices, in those seats, are going to decide whether or not to make the change. So our votes of who's sitting in those seats still matters, just like we said, because you do have some people who could care less that there's protesting. You do. I'm sorry. You have certain elected officials, they're not going to change one vote tomorrow. But you have others who are listening. So it has to go together. We start with that. Voting, it puts the people there who are ultimately going to make the decisions of how things change or how they don't change.
And Christine, they don't. You talked about some electeds that see the protest and they don't care. And unfortunately, some electeds don't care because they know that once the protest is over, those people are done. They're not going to come to the.
Going to go vote.
Right.
That's right.
They're not going to vote. They're not going to come to a hearing. They're not going to write you a letter. They're not going to hold you accountable. Once they're done, that's why I get so frustrated when I hear people talk about, is this a movement or a moment, and trying to get people wrapped up in the feeling of this protest as if that means the work is done. This is not over. It's not over. The work still needs to be done. So, think about gun rights, common sense gun rights. How many children have been slaughtered in our street? And then every time it happens, you hear the same questions. They say, "Oh, this feels different." No, it doesn't. It doesn't feel different because the people who have the vice grip on the GOP, that vice grip is not loosening. And the protests happen, everybody gets riled up, and then everybody goes home and they're back to watching, whatever people watch now on television. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
we have to stay very focused on the end goal, and the protest is not the end goal.
Right.
Absolutely. So everybody out there, I understand your frustration, but don't believe that they're going to listen more to burning down buildings than they are to voting. Like Christine and Stephanie said, that they go hand in hand. And it's very important for us to remember that, because I know sometimes you just want to burn some shit out. But at the end of the day, it's very important for us to realize the importance of those two acts going hand in hand. So I know we're coming up on our hour, but I have some other really important questions. Ricky, Korshonda, back to this entertainment stuff right quick. Recently, I just discovered that Amanda Seales was fired from The View. And I'm really just nope. I said that wrong. Let me correct myself right now.
I thought
today.
She quit.
She was not fired from anywhere. Sorry, that was ingrained in my brain. She left. And she left because she felt like her voice was, yes, she did. She did not renew her agreement because she felt like her voice was muted. Mm-hmm. What do you say to people like Amanda and myself, who I know based on how I've been so fired up and passionate in social media these days, might be me too. But what do you say to women who look forward to producing content and being parts of shows and stuff for a living, but can't just sit back and allow these narratives and these stereotypes to continue? Do you have any encouraging words to the revolutionary entertainment people?
Don't
Because
do
you
it.
ladies are as well.
Don't do it. Don't do it. I mean, right now, authenticity is what sells. And people want to, they really want to hear a real, authentic voice. I mean, sadly, that's how Trump got into office. People want to hear what they think is real, whether you agree with it or not. And, the old adage, if don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. And so I think once you lose your voice, the bigger thing that you do is now you start to hurt yourself because you've disappointed yourself because you weren't true to who you are. And look, my mouth gets me in trouble all the time, and I just keep going. It's who I am. Like, that you aren't going to have Ricky in a room on a project if you aren't looking for me to give my opinion. It doesn't mean I have to, barrel through and that's the end all to be all. But I'm definitely going to say what I have to say.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Korshonda?
I actually saw that, and I honestly, I applauded her for it because the one thing that she said that kind of resonated for me, she said that she couldn't continue to do it because it no longer felt good for her soul, and she felt like, again, like you said, her voice was being muted. And now that I'm watching her, like I'm starting to watch her Instagram lives and her post more frequently. And what that has done for me, it has said, you know what? Okay, maybe you don't always have to go the traditional route with getting your message out. Like, now you've got social media, you've got these other platforms that you can use to get your message out. And that's one of the things that I personally have really been sitting back thinking, like, okay, how can I use this platform and or use the things that are readily at my disposal right now versus waiting on a person to give me a yes to tell the kind of stories that I want to tell. So I think what she's doing, she's, ultimately with her messaging, she's changing what people are hearing. I think she's changed our outlook on a lot of things. And if we start to hear stuff differently, if we see stuff differently, I think we'll all start to think differently. So yeah, I applaud her. I applaud her for standing up for what she believed in.
Well, I mean, that's what that show was supposed to be about. All these different opinions coming together. That's what it was sold as.
That's what it was supposed to be about. And when she went on, I was
the real. It's the real. So
and I think this is a great opportunity for the women on the show, if they believe that Amanda walked for a good reason, to not necessarily walk, but at least let your voice be heard.
Has
and your
anyone
perspective
spoken
on
up though? When sorry, Nikki, has anybody else from that show spoken up and said that they agree with her or they applaud her for what it was that she did?
Not that I've seen, not at all, not that I've seen. And I will say that, even though Tamar Braxton and Amanda Seales are two totally different, Black women, they were both very strong, vocal, opinionated Black women. And it's just a strange look to see that neither one of them are there anymore. And I challenge networks to just hear and recognize and respect all voices of women of color, because I'm just going to go out here and say it. I started watching The Real again because of Amanda Seales. And now that she is not there, I question whether or not I'll be tuning in. Now, I'm not trying to mess with anybody's coin. I'm just telling you what my truth is.
You're not messing. They're messing with their coin. You know what I mean? So when they mute authentic voices, what they are doing is devaluing the product that they are selling, and they are giving Amanda and Tamar and anybody else who wants to make authentic content, they are giving them an opportunity to have their own value. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like they're doing it to themselves. So you can't, don't. You're not messing with
It's like cutting off your nose to spite your face.
They're going to fool around and have their own show. Amanda will have her own show. Someone else will swoop her out, and it'll be...
Yeah. She said she wanted her show to be called The Big Seals. I'm here for it all day.
Well,
oh my God, I could talk to you after
that, Nikki.
Yes, absolutely.
Maybe more of a question back, and I know we're trying to move to another discussion. I would have loved to have seen her say, like, I don't want her to say if it's not good for her soul, but this for me, her voice was at least penetrating kind of mainstream America. She was getting the issues. I don't know if anybody saw the episode when Ahmaud Arbery was killed and they were doing the COVID. You know, they had themselves on these individuals, because I hadn't been watching it either, Nikki, until she came on. I said, I want to see now. Let me watch it. And she came on there so emotional and raw about what happened to Ahmaud Arbery. We wouldn't have got that from television. She got to send that out to mainstream to see the pain that Black people go through witnessing this stuff. Yeah. And I thought it was just some of the best television and raw emotion. So I hate that her voice is not going to be at that table, because she did bring it. She was like, let me say this. And you can see her face sometimes like, but she, but at the end of the day, she didn't compromise herself. And you saw that. So I hate that her voice is going to be gone from that table, because it pushed it into mainstream America where it doesn't always go.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So Amanda, you got a bunch of sisters on She Speaks Live that's supporting you, sis. I applaud you for taking the high road and leaving some money on the table, because sometimes that's what you gotta do. Period. This is so good. Oh, I feel so full. I feel so informed. So I gotta ask you guys this. We've talked about protests, we've talked about voting, we've talked about content and how we can empower women and just people in general through it. Because don't get it twisted. Black women doing content is not just for Black women. All right? We just do it real good, in often cases way better. So it helps everybody when you allow women of color in any capacity to run your cities, your country. Hello. I'm gonna have to have y'all back so we can talk about this VP situation that's going on in the world. But I want to talk about that too. But please know that when you empower women of color, you empower the entire world, right? Because we are that dope. We really are magical. Like, it's not just a thing we say, it's a fact. Not saying nothing away from anybody else. I'm just speaking from the perspective of the people we are, the women we are. So, last thing, we talked a lot about a whole bunch of issues that we feel can help improve our experience, but what are the next steps? Like, we talked about it. What would you, and each of you, please feel free to give your perspective on this. What are the next steps? Where do we go after the protest?
I think I have two things that I wanted to just throw in there. One of them is, I'm back onto my economics thing. And, when I saw someone had proposed that instead of defunding, because I don't think defunding the police department is really what we need to do. I think people need to really think about what they're saying and like what's the far-reaching implications of that, something like that. But what if you held them accountable, meaning that any civil suits that came out of the Police Unified Pension Fund? As the whole office, look, the unions would probably never let it happen. But what it would do for the other officers is you would think twice about this person next to you who is about to have a $13 million lawsuit on their hands, and that's going to come out of your fund. Like, I think it would be a different thought process out of it, number one. Number two, I think that we should be really mindful about the words that we speak into existence. And so, like, I understand and I support the movement, but you won't hear me say, I can't breathe. I'm going to speak life into the words that I say. So my words will say, I am breathing, I am here, I am showing up. Yeah. Like, I'm going to speak into what I'm choosing to happen and to not fill up my life and my kids' lives and the people's lives around me with not with prophetic prophecy, like, I want to say what I'd like to see happen. And I know it's powerful, but I think we can be transformative with our words. So I challenge us to.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Anyone else? Any tips on moving forward and what we, can do as individuals or as a collective from here?
I'll just go back to what I said before. Get informed. Learn about things like use of force in your local police department. Learn about the law enforcement officers' Bill of Rights. Learn about the police department's budget And I think it's Ricky said, it wasn't smart to say defund the police. There might be areas you want to defund, but you're going to only
Oh, I
find that
meant just
out.
not all of it. I'm sorry.
No,
I
no,
just
no,
meant not
no,
all of it.
no.
But
We're on the same page.
yeah.
We're exactly the same page. What I'm saying is you can't, when you say defund the police without a plan, like what are you really saying? And if you say defund the police and you mean it, what actually do you want to defund? You have to do the work, because I don't know a community that struggles with safety that does not want protection. Right. So then, so you there has to that push and pull, that tension of, that we definitely want the safety and security just without the abuse. So I would say the next steps are to educate yourself and to figure out, after the protest is over, what you're willing to fight for to get progress.
Absolutely. Good stuff.
Yeah, I'm kind of, in the same vein as what everybody is saying. I want people to remember, especially people, I don't know how many people not of color are watching this, but to, like she said, to educate themselves that this didn't start just from one death, right? This is what sparked it. There are over, I think, 1,000, they say, deaths from police a year, in the country. But Black folks are 3 times more likely to die from use of force from police than anybody else. We're only 18% of the population in this country, but we are 3 times more likely to die. So understand that there are statistics and numbers behind why we are so angry and tired. That sure, we know that everybody, every ethnicity has suffered death at the hands of the police. The issue is that the color of our skin seems to lend itself to why we get killed more. Because this country was built on racism, and understand that at the end of the day, that is what this movement at this point is about. And from here, we have to, like everybody just said, educate yourself and figure out what platform are you going to get behind. Is it a platform of change in the police department? Do we want to hold the department accountable? Should funding be held up for supplies? Now, again, I'm going to agree with there is real crime in the world. So to say defund police, to me, is not the answer. The re-education and understanding of what use of force and how they value life has to change. So their training has to change. Who we hire has to change. Who we allow them to hire has to change. Those are the sorts of things I want us as communities to push for. Should there be a community policing review board for new hires? Will the community policing review board be able to sit and say, okay, we get to look at all police complaints? Remember, this man that killed George Floyd had 18 previous complaints. Why was that not, why was he on the street? And now remember, that's 18 people that took the time to come in and complain. Please believe that if there were 18 people who complained, there were 50 others who didn't say a word. So for me, educating and understanding specifically what we want from this. What is it that we want to see change with police? What are the demands? And then find community leaders in your area who are mapping out a platform. Because again, we're protesting. Okay, make sure here's the platform. So when you get to your city council building or your state capitol, you're there with a platform that you guys want to see pushed and put into legislation and ordinances and budget. That is my thing I would like us to take away.
Absolutely. Anyone else want to tackle that?
Girl, I'm gonna say
I think
everybody
we've got
said it well. And the only thing that I would say, is that we should remember that, echoing everything that everybody just said on the phone call, but also remembering that, or putting in our minds that the actions that we're taking right now shouldn't have an expiration date, and we need to keep going even after the next news cycle. We need to still be focused on the mission that everybody is focused on right now.
Absolutely. Yes, 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 yes. Well, I am so grateful that you ladies shared your knowledge and your sisterhood on She Speaks Live. This is my little effort. Oh, wait. What does Chevy say? Talk nice to yourself. This is my impactful effort to just bring awareness and information. And I learn so much when I talk to people on this show, and I'm so grateful. Can each of you just real quick tell the viewing audience where they can find you? And we'll wrap this thing up. Starting with Christine, you've been around for a while. Why don't we get started with you, girl?
Yeah. Oh, I say no. Start with everybody. My social media on Instagram is Christine.Beatty. I'm available. You can inbox me, email me. I'm more than happy to answer questions or, give my opinion because I will do that too. I'm with Ricky on that. I'm gonna tell you how I feel.
Okay, Ricky, she called you out. Tell us
All
what's
right.
going on with you.
Yep. Well, Magic Lemonade. It's the same on all social platforms. My company. You can get me. I'm at Miss Ricky. You guys got me. I'm there. I see it all.
Yes. Korshonda, my love.
Yes, ma'am. So my social media handles are the same too. So for Instagram, Twitter, and all that good stuff, it's Coco_studios. So it's COCO_studios.
All right, and what were you saying, Korshonda? Did you say something else?
No, I just said with an S.
With an S,
Yeah.
okay? And Stephanie Rollins Blake.
Yep, that's it. That's my Instagram, Stephanie Rawlings Blake, one word, and on Twitter, Mayor SRB.
Yes, indeedy. Well, ladies, I want to thank you again from the bottom of my heart. Everybody who watched, thank you for watching. You see on noego.tv, shespeakslive.com. We're live on Facebook. I'm sorry I didn't get to any of my Facebook questions. We had some technical difficulties, but we shook the devil off, and we were able to pull this thing together. Look, Stephanie, you said in the beginning, I'm claiming right now that camera stuff is going to come together, and so it did. So that is the true power of Black Girl Magic, because my sister spoke those words, and we all good. I am Nikki Gilbert Daniels. In closing, I want to leave you guys with this. I usually don't do the challenges. I've never done a TikTok in my life. But I wrote a film with my good friend Dwayne Barnes called Social Conflict, and it is loosely based on true story. We did it at our high school. It is Gun Violence Awareness Month. In addition to all the other things that are happening in the world right now, it's Gun Violence Awareness Month. So I want to leave us with the title track from that short film, and you can check that film out at brokenthingsfilm.com. And I hope that it inspires you to not give up. The song is called "I'm Not Giving Up," written by the Trackheads, and you'll see some clips from the film itself. But thank you, ladies, from the bottom of my heart, for taking time out of your very busy, productive schedules to spend time with the people. I love and appreciate you, and this is I'm Not Giving Up. Let's see if that'll play. See how the devil works? They done messed up my file and the video's not gonna play. See, you see what it is? Y'all see how this is happening?
Well, thank you.
Hold
for
on, but
doing
I'm
this,
not
Nikki.
giving up.
This over and over.
Thank you.
Black women get the most disrespected out of everybody. They get the most disrespected in the business, and they're the most supportive. Like, they're the most supportive of especially black male actors, who a lot of motherfuckers that don't marry any of the black women, they get support from black women. Black women spend so much money and support us. Like me, me, as much as I talk shit about pro-black shit, black women in the streets show me so much fucking props. I would be a fucking idiot to be dogging them in public, man. It's like there's a lot of us that do that. We kind of fucking are not loyal to black women at all, and it's fucked up on all levels. We need to cut that shit out. Black women are disrespected. Black women are not lying when they are talking about this kind of shit. You understand? They're not crying wolf. Listen, black women are the most educated in America. The most educated, the most shit on, and then they get disrespected as far as Hollywood. They're either over-sexualized. A black woman can't be on TV unless she fucking a white dude. You know what I'm saying? She got to be a side bitch and all this other dumb shit. There's 1,900 shows with white women being tough. And white women are not that tough. I get on an elevator, they holding their purse. White men aren't that tough. I'm tired of seeing white girls, karate, fucking 200-pound guys. Yeah, ha, yeah, good job, Betty. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Doing wrist grabs to 200-pound men. Hoo-ah, yeah, yeah. Supergirl. Yeah, that's right. What the fuck out of here. I love black women. They're the fucking dopest to me. And it's not taking anything from other women.
Playing over and over and over again. All I see is negativity on my TV screen. Seem like everyone is filled with pain, and hurt can turn to rage and a blame. I feel like coping with a cigarette.
All right, ladies. All right, I just had to give a little snippet of that. And of course, Godfrey excused the profanity, but his point was one that I think we can all get with. At the end of the day, black women are dope. Better recognized. I'm Nikki Gilbert Daniels, Stephanie Rawlings Blake, Ricky Hughes, Korshonda Springer, Christine Beatty. Thank you for watching. Have a wonderful evening and keep fighting for equality and to end racism, because if we don't do it, it's not going to happen. Peace and blessings, y'all. Bye.
Hi, everybody.